Good morning, everybody. As we continue in the Tanya, we're holding chapter 52. Spoke some very deep concepts last week. The Alter Rebbe spoke some very deep aspects in Chassidus to try to explain to us the concept of the aspect of the way the Eibishter Oida in Seif comes down into a physical concept, which is a very difficult aspect in Kabbalah and Chassidus in general to be able to explain. The third expression somebody mentioned last week, it was over my head, and the truth is that so many things fly over our head if we don't concentrate. That's why it's called a meilim b'Torah. You have to try to work in the learning of Torah. It takes some kind of effort to understand, especially if it's hard to understand the hilchos HaTorah, the laws of the Torah. It's surely difficult to comprehend the Seidah HaTorah, the hidden aspects of the Kabbalistic concepts of the Torah. But everything, as I said last week, there's no secrets. It might be as hard for us simple people to understand it, but the Eibishter, God gave us a seichel, God gave us a brain that gives us all the capability to have havanas HaTorah, as the Torah itself says, l'das Hashem, to know God, each person according to his capacity. So we all know there's an expression, a mashal and a nimshal. A mashal is a parable. A parable. We give a parable. Why do we need to give a mashal in general? Why do we need to give a parable? Because the teaching that we're trying to give a parable to is very difficult. It's very hard to understand. That's why it's a nimshal. Truth, I try to find, if anybody over here can find me a one word for a nimshal. I couldn't find. I was looking, and I had somebody else also look. So we know mashal is a parable. Nimshal, give me a word for nimshal. The nimshal is the moral, the teaching. There's many words I have to the word nimshal. Yeah, you want to say something? So the word mashal is the parable. The nimshal is the deeper meaning, the teaching. I don't know. Right? Yes.
The explanation.
The explanation. Whatever. The explanation. I don't know. I can't find one word for the nimshal, but the nimshal is the moral, the teaching. The mashal is the parable. So it's easier to say what the parable is than the nimshal, than what it comes to allude to, what it comes to express. Because the mashal and the nimshal are sometimes very far apart. Because even though I give a mashal, I give a parable, but it's very difficult to see the nimshal in the parable sometimes. That's why it says that Shlomo Melech, to give one understanding of his chachma, he had to give 3,000 mishalim. He had to give 3,000 parables. Why do you have to give 3,000 parables? For ultimately the regular person to understand it, maybe you had to have the 3,000 parables. Maybe a smarter person needed 100 parables, a less smarter person needed 1,000, and some needed to have another parable, another parable. And that's why we love stories and parables. It's actually brought down that the Torah is considered a parable, a mashal, because really everything in the Torah has a nimshal. Everything that's written in the Torah has its side, has its nimshal. So there's Torah, there's a revealed Torah, and there's a hidden level of the Torah. As we say, that the Torah is a garden. The Paides, Pshat, Remez, Drush, Sod. So the Torah is compared to a parable to its side. So we have That's what we say. Avram Avinu is chesed. His parable is chesed. It's the opposite. He's a parable to chesed. Yitzchak is a parable to gevura. Yaakov is a parable, is a mashal to Tiferes and Emes, whatever. So you have the mashal and the nimshal. It's a very hard sometimes to connect the mashal to the nimshal, especially when we want to give a mashal to likus. We want to give a mashal, and the nimshal is godliness. If the nimshal is ein sof, is infinity, how can you give a mashal to a nimshal? How can we give a mashal to something? A mashal has a finite entity to it, a mashal. To a nimshal, which is ein sof, which is infinity. Give me a mashal to something that's infinite. It's very, very difficult. And sometimes very hard for a human being to comprehend. And therefore the Rambam writes that Yud-Kei Vavke, the name of the Eibishter, is not capable of understanding. Something that's l'mayla min haseichel, that's above understanding and comprehension, is not possible to be understood. So therefore we have to give a mashal. But even the mashal is really not a very good mashal, because the mashal takes away from the nimshal. So we need to find as much as mishalim that we can find to be able to give an expression or a deep understanding, a little bit of understanding to the nimshal. The Alter Rebbe gave a mashal of an neshama leguf. The neshama is the spiritual, the guf is the physical. The Alter Rebbe gave an example of Eir HaShemesh to the Moed HaShemesh, from the light of the sun to the luminary, which is the sun itself. The Alter Rebbe gives these mashalim, these analogies, trying to express the concept, the ilikus, the godliness that's in the mashal, in the analogy, in the parable, in the story, etc., etc. So let's bring it down into what the Alter Rebbe, try to bring it down into what the Alter Rebbe is explaining in chapter 52 of Tanya. And the Alter Rebbe is explaining the aspect of the Esses Sfiris, from Chochmah to Malchus, from the level of wisdom to the level of Malchus, that everything comes from Chochmah, and in each and every of the four worlds, there's Chachma of that world, and there's Malchus of that world. And ultimately, you have the lowest world, which is Olam Asiyah, the lowest world, the world of action, and you have Malchus, Malchus of Olam Asiyah, the kingship of Olam Asiyah. And what is the kingship of the Olam Asiyah? Is the concept of the Shechina, what we call the Shechina, the presence of God. Next week's Parsha, V'asuli Migdash v'shachanti b'seicham. That the Eibishter says that the presence of God will rest in this world. So the Alter Rebbe says the Shechina itself, even the Shechina of the world of Asiyah, for the Shechina to rest in the world, it's impossible for the Shechina, because the Shechina itself has within it the Chachma of that world. And if the Shechina, the presence of God, has the wisdom, which ultimately has the wisdom of the world of Atzilus, which is of worlds in these four worlds. So then, if the presence of God was felt in this world, the world would lose its Metzias. The world would lose its identity. In essence, if there was a revelation of God in the world, any level of revelation of God in the world would lose its identity. The world would become Ois Metzias. It would lose its reality. So we need to have something, even the Shechina, the lowest level of the world of Asiya still needs to have a lavush. It needs to have a third medium, that this lavush gives the capability for the world not to lose its metzias, not to lose its reality. So what is the lavush of the Shekhinah? What is the garment of the Shekhinah itself? So the Torah itself says the lavush is the migdash, is the mitzvah. Make for me a mishkan, v'shachanti b'seichem. The Eibishter gave the lavush, gave in the aspect of a mishkan. The Eibishter gave the lavush, the garment for this mishkan, for this shechina, for the presence of God to rest in this physical world, and that the world would not lose its identity, is, in the case of the Mishkan, is the Mishkan itself, is the tabernacle itself. The tabernacle itself is a place where the Eibishter can rest, so to say, and it will not mevatel, and the world would not be mevatel. The question is, we don't have a Mishkan today. We don't have a Beis Hamikdash today. What is the lavush? What is the garment that gives the capability for the Shekhinah to rest in this world? And we all know, the Gemara says, from the time the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, then the lavush is the Torah that we learn. When we learn Torah, halacha, the 4 cubic feet of halacha, the lane, when we learn Torah, that is the lavush. That is the garment that gives the capability for us to touch the Shekhinah, and at the same time not to lose our identity, because it's clothed in a lavush, it's clothed in a garment. So when we learn the Torah, which is Torah, as the Gemara, the expression the Talmud says, Ein mikra yoytze midei pshuta, that the pasuk never leaves its simple meaning. Never leaves a simple meaning. That's the basic lavush, that even a 5-year-old child can open up the Chumash and learn Torah, because that's the lavush. That will be the garment that the Shekhinah, the presence of God, has the capability to enclose itself in this garment, and this mashal, this Torah, this pasuk, which is the mashal, its pshutai, its simplicity, gives it the greatest mashal, the greatest analogy, that we should be able to touch the nimshal. We should be able to have it. We touch the nimshal, the moral, the teaching, the godliness, which we're going to called the nimshal, the godliness that is in this mashal, and not lose our reality, not lose our identity. Now, this garment, that's like a garment in general, this garment is self-developed. This garment is every person that learns Torah clothes himself in this garment, and really the garment is clothed according to the way I want to clothe myself in this garment. If I want to clothe myself like a 5-year-old child, then I clothe myself like a 5-year-old child. That's what the Mishnah says. Al tiskakel b'kankan mashe yesh boy. Don't look at the vessel, but look what's in it. So if I want to learn Torah like a 5-year-old child, I can learn Torah like a 5-year-old child. If I want to learn Torah like a 15-year-old boy, I can learn Torah like a 15-year-old young person. If I want to learn Torah, if I can develop myself and learn Torah like a 30-year-old, I can develop myself and learn like a 30-year-old. That's up to me, the lavush, the garment that I want to clothe myself in. That is basically up to me and my own development, my own learning, and my own maturity, and my own capacity is the lavush that I'm going to clothe myself. So that's why the pasuk says, V'ashli migdash b'shachanti b'seicham, and Ashi says, why does it say b'seicham, in their midst? Make for me a sanctuary, I shall dwell. It should say b'seichai, I shall dwell in its midst. In the Mishkan, it said b'seicham, within their midst. B'seichal echad v'yachad. The Eibusha says that the presence of God can rest within each and every person, within each and every individual. And how do I do that? Is by taking that lavush, by garment. I cannot do it any other way, because the Shekhinah cannot rest in my midst. Because if the Shekhinah would be revealed in my midst, I would be bottled. I would nullify me. The best way that I am not going to be nullified, I'm not going to lose my identity, is by clothe myself in the lavush of the Torah, by learning Torah, and also lavush of mitzvahs, and through that, I have not lost. I made a total connection, and that's what the Alter Rebbe says, that through learning Torah, there's no greater unity between me and God, but through learning of Torah. So here I have a unity with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I'm still Zalman Buket. I have not lost who I am. I have not lost my identity, because I've used the garment of Torah, and by using this garment, I had the capability to connect in a way that I stay who I am, and the nimshal is not diminished either. That the nimshal, God, is not diminished, God forbid, because I learned Torah the way I'm supposed to learn Torah, and I still stay who I am, and each and every person stays who they are, and they connect to God, each on their levels. That's the beauty that Alter Rebbe is explaining. The power, the best, again, to the best of our capability of understanding it. That how oid ain't safe, because when we learn Torah, we learn the Chachma of the Eibishter. It's not our Chachma, it's the Chachma of God. And God and His wisdom is one. And now God and His wisdom, who's one, becomes one with me. And now God, His wisdom, and me, I'm giving the analogy of Zalman Buket, become one as one entity. And still, Zalman Buket still stays Zalman Buket. Even though it becomes one with God, he should become totally nullified. He doesn't. Because he uses the garment of the Torah. And that's the teaching. And that's basically what the Alter Rebbe is bringing out in this chapter 32. It's very Kabbalistic, but I gave you a very simple analogy. I'll give you another analogy. Maybe we'll understand. So you have the analogy, it's given in Chassidus, this analogy. The analogy of a rich man and a rich father and a poor son. You have the rich father, you have the poor son. The rich father wants to help the poor son. He can give him money, but the young son is not capable of handling the money. And the other hand, by giving the son lots of money, the son will not lose, it will not be him. The son wants to have his own success. So what does the father do if he's a smart father? He goes from behind. He gets somebody to hire the son. Tells the guy, I'll be the one who pays for my son, but I want you to make my son feel like he's working, and I want you to push my son. Tell him if he's not going to work, you're gonna fire him. You can't pay him that much if he's not gonna work. But let my son never know that it's really me who's giving him his wages, because that's gonna also not work. That's a smart father. He wants the son to feel that it's his own success. He's not getting just a handout from his father, but really it's the father who's doing everything. And that's the mashal and the nimshal. The father wants to help the son, cannot reveal himself to the son, that it's him who's helping him. Needs to have the medium, the guy in between, who needs to keep the secret. Because if he's going to tell the secret, it's gonna change the whole dynamic. The son thinks he's working, he's accomplishing, he's getting paid for his own work. But meanwhile, it's all the father who's been in the background, who makes sure to be in the background, who's giving support, and is making sure that the son has whatever he needs. The same thing is over here. The Abishter wanted that the son, we are his children, to feel that we're accomplished, we're learning, we're developing, we are struggling, we are overcoming. But meanwhile, it's all him. He has put it in the system. He's made sure to have the guy in the middle to make us feel like we're accomplishing and we're learning and we're understanding, and everything is about us, and everything is the way we comprehend it, and everything is our accomplishment. But really, it's all the Abishter. It all comes from him. Everything that we have comes from him. The Torah comes from him. Our capabilities come from him. Our successes come from him. Our failures come from him. All comes from him. But the Abishter wanted that intermediary, that it would make the son, which is us, feel that it's our success. It's our success. We got the job. We're making sure to keep the job. We're getting the rewards. It's because of our work that is accomplishing all this. But really, it's all the Father. It's all the Abishter. That's another analogy I can give you to try to explain this picture. So let's go to the Tanya. Let's go to the actual Tanya. And again, it's going to be Kabbalistic words, but it's all, just like even the Kabbalistic words that the Alter Rebbe says is a mashal. It's a much deeper mashal. I'll give you maybe a very simple mashal, but it's all a mashal, because these are all spiritual things, and these are all spiritual relationships between a human being and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is really much deeper than the mashal, much deeper than the analogy that can be given. It's much higher, much greater, much more intense than any analogy that you can give. Self-understood. It's only a mashal. It's a parable. It's not really the essence. And therefore, it's hard to explain the real essence. It's hard to really explain the kesher between God and the Torah, and the kesher, the unity between God and a Jew. It's very difficult to give that analogy. It's an analogy, and every person needs to learn and comprehend the mashal, or create another analogy. If anybody has another mashal they want to give, gesund to hate, because the mashal is, every mashal that you're going to give, every analogy you're going to give is not going to be the exact thing, because you cannot give a mashal from godliness, an infinite concept, to a finite. It's very hard to give a mashal and an imshal. But we all try our best, because we all want to connect to God to the best of our ability. I just found a picture. It's not totally correct. I wouldn't say that word, not totally correct is not the right word, because there's so many ways to look at this, and it's very difficult to give you a total concept. But here I found this picture. It's a little bit, the world. Here you have the four worlds, and then in the four words of four letters of God's name. So I don't know what Tai Chi is, whatever. We'll take out the Tai Chi is, I don't know. You have Atzilus, the world of Keser, Ein Sof, more connected to Ein Sof. Then you have the world of Bria, the creative world, Chochma, Bina. So really in Chassidus, actually the world of Atzilus is also connected to Chochma, because Chochma is connected to Ein Sof also. So you have the world of Yetzirah is the world of formation, is Gevurah. It's outside the world of in more simple terms, the world of Atzilus is the world of Tzadikim, the righteous, the souls of the righteous in the world of Atzilus. The world of Bria is the world of souls in general, because that's where Bina is. The world of Yetzirah is world with the Gevurah, where the emotions are, is the world of angels, and the world of Asiya is, as you see over there, the world of Malchus. But the truth is, every of these worlds have within it Chachma and Malchus. That's one picture, one analogy that can be given to these worlds. Let's go to the Tanya. You know what? Let me share it differently. So we touched this. We touched this with last week a little bit. You started it up, but the Shechina itself, what's that over here? The Shechina Avashina Atzma, namely the origin and the core manifestation by the blessed and safe illuminate the worlds in a revealed form, and which is source of all streams of vitality in those worlds. So the Shechina itself, which is connected to Chachma, because the Shechina, the Malchus, which is called, which is one of the names of Malchus, the Shechina, because Malchus feels its light. So Malchus itself, is Lizbel, as I said, concerning the Shechina itself, the source of all vitality of the worlds is the Shechina. The worlds cannot endure or receive the light of the Shechina, that it might actually dwell and enclose itself in them without a garment. So Kabbalah says you need to have a garment. The Shechina needs to have a garment to screen and conceal its light from them. Why? Because if there wouldn't be this garment, then it would become entirely nullified and lose its identity within their source. Just as the light of the sun is nullified to its source, which the light of the sun is the Shechina, is the ray of the sun, namely the sun itself, where the light cannot be seen, but only its integral mass of the sun itself. So too, and it's in box over here, so too, since the Shechina is the source of vitality of the whole creation, all of which receives but a ray from the Shechina, then the Shechina itself, the actual source, would be manifest, or which would be manifest. All created beings would be nullified if the Shechina would be revealed in the world. Then the world would lose. We would see the world as a spiritual world. The situation would be exactly similar to the sun ray as it was found within the orbit of the sun, where they're completely nullified. So in order for the Shechina to dwell within the world, and their creatures, there must be therefore a garment which serves to conceal its light. Only then that can creative receive the Shechina and not be nullified from its existence. So what is the garment which is able to conceal and clothe the Shechina, and yet not itself be completely nullified within its life? This is the blessed will and wisdom, and so forth, referring to the levels of Bina and Dat, which are part of the intelligence above, as mentioned earlier, which is clothed in the Torah and mitzvahs that are revealed to us and to our children. That's why we say the expressions. Hanistadas laHashem Elokeinu, v'haniglois lanu ulevanenu ad olam. What is hidden is to God, and what is revealed is to us and to our children forever and ever. What is revealed to us? The Torah was revealed to us. That is the garments. The mitzvahs is revealed to us. That's what we know. That's what we can touch. So why are God's will and wisdom and so forth able to act as a concealed garment for the light of the Shechina without themselves being nullified by it? For the Torah issues from wisdom, namely Chachma Ilah, supernal wisdom, which is the level of Chachma Atzilus. The Ilah, the Eila, Leila, Ma'amad is Galia, that is immeasurably higher than the world of manifestation, which is the Shechina. So the Chachma, the Torah, at the same time, which is a Chachma that we can understand, is Chachma Allah, is a wisdom that was far beyond our understanding. As mentioned earlier, Shechina refers to an initial stage of revelation, for which reason is it's called the world of manifestation. Since Chachma Allah is entirely beyond the pale of revelation, it is therefore immeasurably higher than the Shechina. For he is wise, God is wise, which is the wisdom of Chachma Vatzilas, but is not knowable wisdom, and so forth. As I explained before, that the infinite light of the blessed is united with the supernal wisdom, and he and his wisdom are one. But what happens? This wisdom comes down from level to level. Excuse me, let me silence this. This wisdom comes down from level to level until it has descended by means of obscure gradation from a higher grade to a lower grade, with the descent into the worlds until the Torah, has been clothed itself in the material things, namely the 600 commandments of the Torah. So the words of the wisdom of God, Chachma Allah, which has no comprehension, ultimately comes into a pasuk, ultimately comes into a mitzvah, a pasuk which is written with physical words, a pasuk which is written in physical ink, on a physical parchment, and can be read with a physical mouth. That's how far the Torah comes down from. So the Torah that is written on a physical parchment and has a physical meaning comes from Chachma Allah, from a wisdom that's beyond comprehension. That's why Torah is compared to water. Just like water comes from a very high place and goes down to a very low place, so too the Torah that can be understood, that is a garment that can be understood by a simple child, has within it a wisdom that's far beyond any comprehension of any human being. But and when this wisdom came down, progressively descend from world to world, the Shechina too came down and clothed itself within each world. Thus, that's the gray box. Thus, within the supernal wisdom which descends in each world, is found the Shechina of that world. Of course, the Shechina, the Malchus of every world. Every world has Malchus. Ultimately, Malchus comes down into this world. This is the Holy of Holies of each world. So the Holy of Holies, just like in this world, is the Holy of Holies, is the Beis Hamikdash. So too is the Holy of Holies in each world. In the world of Atzilus, in the world of Bria, in the world of Yetzirah, in the world of Asiya, which the world of Asiya is also the upper world, still the upper worlds, the world of Asiya. The way the world of Asiya, of Malchus, is reflected is in the world, the physical world of Beis Hamikdash, and ultimately in the Torah that we learn. As it's written in the Zohar, the Shechina, which is the Malchus of the world of Atzilus, being manifest in the light of vitality of Ein Sof, which illuminates the worlds. Wherefore, meaning, since its revelation is called God's speech and the breath of his mouth, as it were, for the purpose of speech is to reveal that which is concealed in thought. So speech is Malchus. Speech is also called Shechina. Al derech Moshe k'mesha adam adibur megala machshavta asumen nelam el Shem. The case, again, the mashal, the analogy, like speech of a human being, reveals the hearer's, the speaker's concealed hidden thought. So malchus of every world is what gives the capability of revelation. The Shekhinah gives the capability of revelation. The Shekhinah is the vessel for godliness in every world, and so too in this world. The Shekhinah is the revelation of godliness. The garment gives the capability of that revelation. So the Shekhinah, again, is the revelation. He mislabeshes, look at the words of the Tanya, he mislabeshes, garments itself, beheichal kach in the garments itself, shrines itself in the holy of holies, the world of Bria. She chachma bina das the Bria, which is the wisdom and understanding of the world of Bria. Ubeslavshus b'malchus the Bria, and when this Nivra Neshama Lachash of Bria creates the world, creates the souls and angels that exist in the world of Bria. Name from there also, from Malchus of Bria. Which enclosed the Shechina, Malchus of Atzilus, which is previously clothed itself in Chochmah Bina of Dat of the world of Bria, after which the latter is clothed in the world of Malchus of the world of Bria, derives the Talmud that we possess. So in Kabbalah, the Talmud that we learn is the Malchus of the world of Bria. Very Kabbalist. When you learn Talmud, you're revealing Malchus of the world of Bria. As explained in Kabbalah, in Zohar, in the world of Bria, there shines and flows forth Chachma Bina Das, a very safe in a powerful contracted manner, in order that the souls of the angels, which are finite beings, shall be able to receive the influence of these categories of Chabad. And therefore the Gemara, not the Mishnah, but the Gemara, also originates there in the world of Bria. The Mishnah is in the world of Atzilus. And it's also a category of Chabad for the Talmud, consists in clearly defined reasons in halachas, and the reasoning being the rational are from the category of Chabad. That's why the Talmud can be understood, because it comes from the world of Bria. And the law itself, found in the Mishnah, derived from the midas of the Ein Seif, namely kindness, severity, and so on. From which originates permission, that's what's permitted, that's what's prohibited. Ritual vitality, what's valid, what's liability, what's blameless. So the ritual vitality and the blameless originate from the attribute of kindness, and the ritual of vitality, which is liable, range from the attribute of severity. So that's what is permitted, come from the chesed of the world of Bria. That's what is prohibited, comes from gevura of the world of Bria. As brought down the Zohar, Beslapshus Malchus Datzilas Malchus the Bria Masabesu Behelkot Shikoshim the Yitzida Shu Chochmah Binadas the Yitzida, and from by virtue of the clothing of the Malchus of Atzilus in the Malchus of Bria, it then clothed itself and shrined the holy of holy of the world of Yitzida. This being Chabad of Yitzida, Chochmah Bin and Das of the world of Yitzida, the next world, in a manner that the Shekhinah ultimately comes and resides in the world of Yitzira. In the latter, Malchus of Atzilus, together with the Spheres which is enclosed in the Malchus of Bria, in the world of Chabad of Yitzira, are enclosed the Malchus of Yitzira, the souls, which are the Ruchos, are created. So now, for the three levels of souls, Nefesh, Ruach, singular of Ruchot, and Neshama, corresponding to the three lower worlds. Nefesh originates in Asiya, Ruach in Yitzira, and Neshama in Bria. With regard to Neshama, the Alter Rebbe said previously that they are created from Malchus of Bria, and now discuss the level of Malchus of Yitzira. He writes that the souls of the level of the Ruach are created. So now we come to Ruach, which is the world of Yitzira. Hamalachin should be Yitzira, and the angels of the world of Yitzira. The Gam Misham Mishnah of name over there comes Yitzira comes the Mishnah, or I'm sorry, the Mishnah comes from the world of Yitzira, which possesses and comprises of legal decisions that are likewise derived from the Chabad of Ein Sof. Only the categories of Chabad that is the reasoning and the interpretation of the halachas are enclosed and hidden within them. The laws themselves are not revealed, not in the revealed form. Meaning the Gemara, the reasoning for the laws are revealed. Where in the Mishnah, all that is revealed is the actual law itself, and not the reasoning underlining it. Gufa halachas, shein bechinas gilim, and the elements of the halachas which are revealed form of the Mishnah in the Mishnah are the very reflection of the midas of the Ein Sof in a revealed form. Very deep stuff. As mentioned earlier, the actual halacha decision that something is permissible derives from the divine attribute of kindness, and something that's prohibited derives from the attribute of severity. As explained above in Kabbalah, the shit sfirin miskanim b'yitzira, the 6 sfiras nest in the world of Yitzira. They are the 6 sfiras of midas, comprised in general 2 extensions, right and left, right representing kindness and left severity. Lahakel misita de chesed, the hailahate sheyachal alas lavaya, acting as a forbearance deriving from the aspect of kindness, which result in leniency, and that to say permitted things that are sent to God, or in the matter of stringency. All this, both the Mishnah and the Talmud, which come from the world of Bria and Yitzira, is according to the supernal Chachma of Atzilus, Bina and Das comprised in it. And all of them, all of they, the Mishnah and the Talmud, which come from Bria and Yitzira, they all come from Chabad of Atzilus, are united with the blessed Ein Sof, for in all of them are close Chabad Atzilus, which is the light of the blessed Ein Sof in its unity, perfect unity. In likewise manner, the same manner that the Shechina clothes itself in level of Malchus Yitzira, Nestavish, Behechakachikoshim, Nasiya, the Shechina then descends and it clothes itself in the holy of the world of Asiya. And they come into the Beis Hamikdash. And each of these 3 worlds, the world of Bri, Yitzir, and Asiya, are subdivided in myriads of gradations, which also called particular worlds. Malchus Datzilis, but ultimately Malchus Datzilis, the level of Shechina, is clothed in A, the level of Malchus in particular worlds. B, moreover, through the above mentioned clothing, it descends, and C, and clothes itself in the shrine of Holy of Holies, namely the Chabad, which is in each world below in its rank. This will, and with this understanding, we'll be able to understand Malchuscha, Malchus Kol Olam. We say in our davening every day, your kingdom is the kingdom of all worlds. Malchuscha, Malchus Kol Olam, meaning, in essence, in short, so in every world, you have Chachma of that world. Chachma Atzilus comes into Malchus Atzilus. That comes into the wisdom of the world of Bria. That comes into the Malchus of the world of Bria. that comes into the wisdom of the world of Atzilus, that into the world of Yitzira, that comes into Malchus of the world of Yitzira, that comes into Chachma of the world of Asiya, that comes into the Malchus of the world of Asiya. They're all interconnected. So ultimately, the world of Malchus of the world of Asiya is connected to the Chachma of the world of Atzilus, because everything is interconnected. Because you cannot have Chachma of the world of Bria without the Malchus of the world of Atzilus. And you cannot have Chachma of the Malchus of the world of Atzilus. I mean, Malchus of the world of Bria without Chachma of the world of Bria, which comes from the Malchus of the world of Atzilus. And you can't have Chachma of the world of Yitzira without the Malchus of the world of Bria, which is connected to the Malchus of the world of Yitzira, which is connected to the Chachma of the world of Yitzira. So it doesn't make a difference. Ultimately, Chachma, the world of Asiya, comes into Malchus of the world of Asiya. And therefore, Malchus, which is Shechina, the world of Asiya, is connected to Malchus of the world of Yitzira. And Asiya, Bria and Atzilus, which has within it Eid and Seif. So everything is interconnecting. Everything will ultimately be nullified if we didn't have a lavush. That's what the Alter Rebbe ultimately wants to come out with, this whole Kabbalistic concept. And ultimately, we need to have that lavush. We need to have that garment. We need to have the Torah, which is the garment, and we need to have the mitzvah, which that's why the Eibush said that when the Eibush gave revelation on Mount Sinai, when God revealed himself on Mount Sinai, he ultimately had to have v'asli migdash, that the Yidden need to build a mishkan. They need to build a tabernacle in this world, because they need to have a lavush. They need to lavush that garment. That's why you always see the way the Torah was written, that this week is Pashas Yisrael, which is Matan Torah. What comes right after Matan Torah? Parsha Mishpatim. We need to have Parsha Mishpatim, because you can have Matan Torah. What happens after Matan Torah? We don't mention it right away. But what happens after Matan Torah? We have Chas Shalom. We can have a golden calf, because with a revelation that doesn't have the capability to come into a lavush, into a physical reality, can Chas Shalom create all the spirituality which is mentioned. We just mentioned the whole teaching of the Tanya, without having a lavush to be able to bring it down, that I can, like a lavush, that's why it's called a lavush, a garment. Without having a garment to be able to bring it down into a simple form, you would never be able to understand it. You would never be able to incorporate it. If I cannot understand it, I cannot incorporate it. So to be able to incorporate it, I need to have a lavush. But I have to realize the Chas Shalom, I shouldn't think this lavush is an inyan sichli, that the lavush is only a seichelic thing, it's comprehended. There's no something. We should realize that this lavush, this garment, is still connected to Chachmei. This garment is still connected to something that's above and beyond comprehension. So v'asli mikdash v'shachanti b'seicham, to make a mikdash and have the revelation of God in this world, which ultimately humans being, because of our sins. First Beis Hamikdash, the Mishkan was taken away. The Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. The second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. So you can even have this concept being brought down in the physical world, and I can still, Chas v'Shalom, break it. That's why I can learn Torah and I can do mitzvahs, and Chas v'Shalom, I can still have the aspect of sin, because I have to realize. Because I Chas v'Shalom can take this whole thing and forget the Neisen HaTorah. That's when we make a bracha on the Torah, we say Neisen HaTorah. The Eibishter gives the Torah right now. Because I can forget, God forbid, through being given this unbelievable lavush, unbelievable garment, that I can be able to connect to and I can be able to become one with, and I can Chas v'Shalom lose its true essence. I can take the mashal and lose the nimshal. I can take the mashal, God forbid, and forget that the mashal is here for a nimshal. The mashal is only alluding to the real essence, the real hidden aspect. So when I learn Gemara, I can say, wow, this is a very logical book. This is a very logical concept. But really, the Gemara, Kabbalah says, is connected to Yetzirah, to the world. The Gemara actually connected to the world of Bria. The Gemara is connected to the world of creation, Lamaila. And really has a very deeper meaning. That's why it says that even Sicha Chachamim, that the Gemara says even the simple talk of the sages need to have limud. Can you imagine the laws of the sages, the teachings of the sages, the Gemara itself, how much deeper you can go into the Gemara itself and understand that everything that the Gemara was written, Divrei Elokim Chaim, was written, Tzvar Hashem Zu Halacha, that it's not like the Chachamim Pashut who came up in their own analogy, but it was really Dvar Hashem, Divrei Elokim Chaim, that these words of the sages are Divrei Elokim, the words of the Eibush himself. But they're expressed through the sages. But it's not Chas v'Shalom that it was their words, it was the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's how we learn Gemara until today. And we learn Mishnah until today. And self in the Suda Torah, which is Mamish, the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And they are an expression of God's wisdom, how we should realize that the pasuk, the simple pasuk that we learn, has within it, like the Rashi says, expression of Rashi, your face like a stone that sometimes you learn a pasuk and the pasuk like breaks you because it demands upon you to go deeper. It demands upon you to go to realize that there's a much greater concept in this verse. It's not just the verse. The pasuk demands on you to go higher, to go deeper. So to every pasuk, we should realize that every pasuk demands on us to go deeper, to go much higher, to realize that in it is Chachmilah. In this verse that I'm learning is the supernal wisdom, a wisdom that's far beyond our understanding. A Gilei Lakus, but the Eibishter in his chesed, as a father in his kindness, wants to hide himself, so to say, wants to say, I don't want to reveal myself in a way that's going to mevatel you. I want to reveal myself in a way that you're going to be able to have your own mitzias. You'll be able to have your own reality. You'll be able to have your own identity. We should realize the chesed that the Eibishter did for us. And that's why every day we make a birchas HaTorah. We make a bracha over learning Torah. Baruch Hashem, the Eibishter, God gave us the capability to learn Torah. Gave us this levush that we can sit and learn Torah and not lose identity, but actually through learning Torah become united with the giver of the Torah, which is God. And at the same time, as we unite with the giver of the Torah, we still are our own reality. We still have our own reality, Baruch Hashem, and we still have our own mitzias, our own identity. But our mitzias, our identity, our oneness becomes united with God's oneness. And that's what the Alter Rebbe, I believe, wants to teach us in this learning, a very deep Kabbalistic learning, in the way the worlds transmit themselves according to Kabbalah, according to the Zohar, the way the worlds come down, is all to give us this concept, this mashal, this analogy, to be able to realize in our small mind how deep, how vast, how great, how awesome a simple word in the Torah is, a simple law in the Torah is, a simple pasuk in the Torah is. So thou shalt not kill, as we're going to read in this week's Pasha. Torah says, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not do adultery, thou shalt not. All these things have within it very deep. It's not this regular law that we can all know not to kill, not to steal. All this that says thou shalt not kill have within it halachas, 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 and they are connected to Chachmei Law. They're connected to the wisdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is beyond comprehension. So the simple law has within an unbelievable amounts of law. We can learn Gemara in one pasuk in the Torah. One simple law has within it many, many halachas and halachas, and they have within it the spiritual concept of the law of thou shalt not kill, and they go higher and higher. It goes to the Eibishter himself that said this word, lo sirtzach, you should not kill. And that's one of the reasons why it's brought on Chassidus that the Eibishter says lo sirtzach, even though seven mitzvah neyach, seven laws of Noah says you shall not kill, but there's a deeper concept of lo sirtzach. There's a much, much more deeper aspect, soidei hatayra, in the concept of don't kill. And that's why, in a simple term, and that we know, embarrassing something, how Gemara says, when you embarrass him, is you kill him. It's not the pasuk lo sirtzach, but it's the deeper concept in the lo sirtzach, that killing somebody is embarrassing him. And so too, why? When you kill somebody, because in essence, you're touching his neshama. You're killing the person's his soul. It could be worse than killing his body, his physical reality. You're killing his neshama. And we can go deeper and deeper as this concept goes into higher levels in the spiritual worlds. So, whoa, gives us something to think about. And we're coming closer to the next chapter, 53rd chapter of Tanya, which completes the first part of Tanya. And we'll continue to learn the spiritual realms of Chassidus and Torah in our journey in life. I wish you a wonderful day. As we learn, you can continue to learn this. As I said, this is the many, many interpretations that I'm giving you. You can go deeper into it yourself. And God bless you all. Anybody have a question?
Yeah.